going on, everyone? So there's a lot of questions about Trae Young, and it's only going to ramp up as we move closer into the offseason. Especially once we get to the offseason, I think you're going to hear all kinds of reports, all kinds of just rumors and murmurs about Trae Young. Atlanta, they're not really going to do anything. They're not really going anywhere this year. They are currently the 10th seed. They're 6 games out of the 7th, 8th seed, 2 games out of 9th. So chances are, best case scenario, they finish 10th. Worst case scenario, they're only 2.5 games ahead of the Brooklyn Nets, who just fired their head coach. So I don't see Atlanta really making any noise personally. Trae Young, he's extremely young, 25 years old. He's averaging 27 points, 11 assists, and he's a guy that I don't know how many teams would rush to go trade for, just because all the top teams already have their guard, already have their star at that position. Think of teams currently the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? They have Anthony Edwards. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they have SGA. You look at teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers, they currently have Donovan Mitchell. The Milwaukee Bucks, right? They have Damian Lillard. The Knicks, they have Jalen Brunson. You get my point. You look at most of the top teams in the East and the West, they already have that guard that is elite. So it's how many of those teams are going to be pushing for Trae Young? So more likely than not, it's going to be either likely a middle of the pack team, or it's going to be one of these teams like a San Antonio that's hey, Trae Young, Victor Wembanyama, that'd be a great pairing going forward. And we'll see what ends up developing with that regard. Now, obviously, the Lakers are a team that has been heavily linked to Trae Young. Atlanta tried to trade DeJounte Murray. The Lakers were the team that seemed like they were going to land DeJounte Murray. Ultimately, they didn't. And so I imagine that not only will the DeJounte Murray rumors continue to persist once we get into the offseason, but so will now the Trae Young talk, especially after what guys like Kendrick Perkins had to say. Trae Young, he, during the All-Star weekend, touched on the trade rumors and had this to say. It's this type of league where things change and things happen. But obviously, my mindset is staying in Atlanta right now. I don't get caught up in the rumors and all that stuff. My contract is locked in for a couple of years. I don't have very much say about it right now. So this is what Trae Young had to weigh in. Now, the key thing, right? Key thing is he said right now, right? That's something that is very specific. And look, will Trae Young be a Laker in the offseason? I don't know. Time will tell. The Lakers absolutely would be interested. I wholeheartedly believe that. I don't doubt that the Lakers, if Trae Young does become available, that the Lakers will be making a heavy push for it. As far as the contract situation goes, he is right. So he has $40 million this year, and then going into next season, he'd be at $43 million, and then in 2025, 2026, $46 million. So the earliest that he can become a free agent is the 2026-2027 season, in which he has an early termination option for $49 million. So yes, could Atlanta look to move Trae this offseason? Sure, but there's not a sense of urgency. So look at somebody like a Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, the Cleveland Cavaliers only have 1 year left, and then he can become a free agent, right? Which is next season. So it does make sense for a team like Cleveland to go look to trade Donovan Mitchell in the offseason, because you don't want to risk losing him, and you don't want it to draw out and drag on to the trade deadline, because the longer it draws on, the longer you run the risk of, one, losing him for nothing, and two, teams giving you less and less because they're like, well, you kind of don't have a choice. You're going to lose him. Where Trae, a team like Atlanta, they don't have to trade him in the offseason, right? They can wait another year and then get in the Donovan Mitchell situation where it's like, okay, this is our last year, let's look to trade him. If a deal and an offer is there that makes sense, then I could see Atlanta trying to trade him. I could see Atlanta looking to trade him. I think it also comes down to Trae Young, right? If he's vocal and he gets out there and he's like, hey, I want to be traded. I want out of here. I don't want to go through a rebuild, which is what the rumors are. The rumors are that Trae doesn't want to have to go through a 3 to 5 year rebuild. And now he's 30 and he hasn't even been in a position to contend for an NBA championship, right? So that is this bit of a dilemma. Where does Trae want to go? I mean, there have been rumors for years now of him wanting to be in LA and wanting to be a Laker. Like, I mean, there was reports literally like 2 years ago that it was something that he wanted to inevitably do. Now, he says right now, again, what is he supposed to say? Right? They're asking him questions about the trade and stuff. Like, what is he supposed to say? No, Atlanta's trash, get me out of here? No, he's saying the company man answer, right? But I think the way he phrased it was very interesting, right? It's kind of those like, hey, things change, stuff happens, right? Right now, in the moment, I'm here. I'm an Atlanta Hawks. I don't have control over things because I'm under contract for a few years. He didn't flat out say, like, no, I want to be in Atlanta. Atlanta's my home, right? Like, you've seen guys, like even DeMar DeRozan has said, I want to be in Chicago. I want to re-sign with Chicago. I want to stay in Chicago. Now, obviously, he's a lot older than Trae Young, but Trae wasn't very like, no, I'm like, Atlanta's my place. I ain't going anywhere, right? He was kind of just like, I can't really control things for a couple years, and right now I'm here, so this is where I'm at. So time will tell. The other big question is like, what does a Trae Young, Anthony Davis pairing look like? Now, I do think it would be a really good dynamic. I'm not personally super high on Trae. He's undoubtedly an excellent talent. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you're talking about a guy, league leader in assists, guy that go get you, 27 to 30 every single night. Him and Anthony Davis would be a very fun dynamic. The pick and roll would just be ridiculous. Like, it would literally be unfair. Like, how do you switch that? However you switch it, you're screwed. Drop coverage is getting torched, right? But Trae Young, his size, although he's been better defensively, he's still not a good defensive player. He's just trying now. And then on top of that, he's still 6'1", 160 pounds, soaking wet. So he's not, he's never going to be this elite defensive guy. But Anthony Davis is about as close as you can get to like a premier defensive guy alongside Trae. Gives you long-term production in Trae and Anthony Davis, but also helps you win now with LeBron, Trae Young, and Anthony Davis. Trae and his age, as well as his playmaking, is something that would take a lot of pressure off of LeBron James. Going into next season, he'd be 40. Like, Trae Young does make sense for now and the future. I would rather have Donovan Mitchell. I just don't believe the Lakers actually have the assets to get Donovan Mitchell, unless Donovan Mitchell does actually want to be a Laker. Look, it's very possible the Knicks might not be willing to trade for him anymore, right? Because they went and got OG and they got all these people. Like, does Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson really? I didn't think it made sense before all the trades and stuff. So if New York's kind of out on Donovan, could Donovan go, well, I could do worse than the Lakers, right? Like, if that's the case, then forget Trae Young, go get Donovan. Just Donovan's playing incredible defense this year, and a guy that go get you 30 any given night, a big playoff performer, all of that. But if your consolation prize is Trae Young, that's really good. I just feel like you'd have to build a very specific team around Trae Young. You're looking at Trae Young, Anthony Davis, and then 3 premier 3-and-D guys around those two. Because you need to really make up for Trae Young and his lack of defense and kind of capitalize on his playmaking. So to me, if you had Trae Young and you had Anthony Davis, something like Austin Reeves, who you're probably trading in any Young deal, but you couldn't have an Austin Reeves or a D'Lo or something like that next to Trae Young. It would have to be a Trae, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Jeremy Grant or something alongside with Anthony Davis. So that way you have a legit defensive foundation, size, versatility, switchability, and all 3 guys can shoot the 3 ball with Anthony Davis defending down low. That's the only way I see you potentially winning a championship with Trae Young and Anthony Davis. Just because, again, the defensive liabilities come the postseason. Teams are really going to target Trae. Incredible talent. But I also have concerns because, like, look, Trae Young, when he's on and he's shooting, like, you'll watch him and he's magical, right? Like, he's out there and single-handedly go and win you a game. Single-handedly hitting you big shots, taking advantage of mismatches, right? Running the pick and roll, getting guys. I mean, he's a one-man offense. Without a doubt. He's one of the best in the league at being a one-man offense. The problem is I've watched plenty of Trae Young and Atlanta games, and as much as he'll win you games, there are a lot of games in which he just shoots them out of games. And that is a little concern. Now, granted, it's one thing when you're the guy, and it's like, who else is my number two? Like, DeJounte Murray is the second guy, but it's like, he's not really a two, he's really a point, and it's like, you know, in Trey's eyes, he's probably thinking, like, I'm better than he is, so, like, why would I pass the ball up to him when I could take same shots, and I'm a better shooter, and this, that, and the other. It's another thing when you're playing alongside LeBron James, who Trae Young looks at as just one of, if not the greatest players ever, and Anthony Davis. It's a big difference when it's like, okay, well, it's just me, or it's like, it's me, LeBron, and AD. And then even after LeBron James, it's like, oh, no, it's me and Anthony Davis, right? Like, let me make things easy here. So I think it could be beneficial. I do think it does make a lot of sense for Trae. I think it does make a lot of sense for the Lakers if all else fails. Like, because the thing is like, the other argument would be waiting for somebody else, but like, who is that other guy? Like, every year there's like some star that wants to be available or that becomes available, but it's like, who's that guy that's going to, like, which top 10 players is leaving in the next few years? Right? Because one, you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis now, even after LeBron, like, let's say LeBron plays with the Lakers for 2 more years. At that point, Anthony Davis is 32, 33. It's just, you know, when you could have probably already won a champ, like, who are you getting, and what does Anthony Davis look like at that point? It's not a guy that, I mean, this year, credit Anthony Davis, he's been spectacular, and, you know, the playing through knick-knack injuries and playing game in and game out has been wonderful, but what does he look like 2-3 years from now? And it's like, so what, yes, maybe a Luka or somebody becomes available at some point, but to me, if you're the Lakers, it's like, just deal with it then, figure it out then, right? Like, one in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. If you can get a guy like Trae Young, go get him. And then if you can get a Luka or something, or you think somebody is better than Trae Young, right? You'd have Trae Young to trade if you wanted to, or you could get a guy that pairs with Trae Young, right? So maybe Joel Embiid becomes available and you're going and getting Joel Embiid or so. Again, I'm just throwing out names and ideas here. I'm not saying that they will or anything like that. But my thing is like, one, how many guys make sense? And 2, how many guys are going to become available in the next year or 2? That's the thing. If you can get Trae Young, go get Trae Young. Again, I prefer Donovan Mitchell, but I just don't really see that happening. Trae Young, I actually think would be obtainable just because, again, how many teams are in the market for an undersized point guard? Even as great as Trae is, there's not going to be very many teams. So I just don't think that the Lakers would have as much competition. And then it's like, if you're Trae Young, where would you rather be? Would you rather be in San Antonio with Victor Wembanyama, or would you rather be in LA with LeBron and AD? And then after LeBron, you know the Lakers are going to do whatever they can to build a contender around you and Anthony Davis. I don't know. It just depends on what Trae wants. I mean, long-term upside, you could say Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs. Short-term and potentially long-term, I think the Lakers make more sense, right? I think Trae Young would have a better chance of winning right now with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And then when LeBron leaves, I think he'd still have a very good chance to win a championship. And then you'd have the money and pieces and stuff to go and make other moves around him. So I don't know. Time will tell. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? What do you make Trae Young? How do you feel about it? Do you want him? Do you not? Do you think he's staying? Do you think he's leaving? Again, how do you feel? What your thoughts are? Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.